So here's some HR blocks that might be preventing individuals from making their launch into HR. Man, I get this question a whole lot. We're going to talk about experience, certification, and salary, okay? Here are some of the roadblocks. People automatically think, sorry, I have a hair in my eye. People automatically think that if you have a degree in HR, that people are going to hire you. Doesn't really work that way in the human resources profession. To be quite honest, even if you had your doctoral degree in HR, and if you have no experience, no one is going to hire you unless that position is for you. Again, remember my disclaimer, what is for you is for you. So I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. I'm just saying, on a normal basis, if you found yourself to be in difficult circumstances where you are not getting any hits, you're not getting any interviews, and you're like, wait a minute, my master's is in HR. Wait a minute, I have a certification in HR. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm not by any means minimizing that. However, I am saying that what I have found is that those that have experience and education, experience and certification, experience and meet the salary, expectations are the ones that typically get the offer. Okay. Of course, personality, but that's a whole nother workshop. But you want the experience. I found is probably the biggest thing. People don't have experience. And you might be saying, well, how in the world do I get experience if nobody will give me a chance? Great question. And I know it's a catch-22, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So that's the same thing too, again, with the certification. I have I've worked with about 6 people in the last 9 months that are in HR, and we've been kind of just working together, their career strategy sessions. And I tell people, I've seen people that have been hired without a certification because they have experience versus someone with certification that does not have experience. I have a question. Let's see here. Question from an HR student. I have 8 years of work experience that is not related to HR, and I am 2 semesters away from having a master's degree. Not related to HR, okay. 2 semesters. I'm having a really hard time finding an entry-level HR job. Even though I'm willing to take a pay cut, I'm still finding it difficult to convince hiring managers to take a chance on me. Do you think I should remove my work experience from my resume that I won't appear overqualified? That is a great question, and I'll probably hit on that in our next slide. So great question. Thanks for submitting that. Let's go on to the next slide. So that way we're actually going to be talking about that in just a second. So how do you get in the door? Your example is an awesome example. Again, you are what I consider someone that's transitioning into HR. So again, kind of what I said before, what I've seen is that it doesn't really matter that you're getting this degree. I'm not saying the degree doesn't matter. The degree helps, but the experience is almost, if I might say, and I know I have some hiring managers here as well, if I might say, it's critical for you to have the experience, right? Unless it's an organization that's kind of a teaching environment that's willing to hire an entry-level grad. So here's one of the things that I would say. I'm not going to, because I don't have your resume in front of you. So one of the tips that I would say, and I'm going to kind of jump around here, but I would say that with the experience that you do have, and if you can maybe give me that feedback, let me know what type of experience, what type of industry did you work in? Is there a way, and if you're still working, is there a way that you can create your own experience? Here is what I mean by this. And I'm giving you all some good nuggets. People pay me for this stuff here. So what I mean by creating your own experience. All right, so when I was an undergrad, I knew I wanted to transition into HR, and I did not want to graduate without having a job. So I was working 3 jobs while taking 18 to 21 credits. Okay. One of my jobs is working at a computer lab. Another one of my jobs is working at a leather coat store. Okay. And in another one, I was working at another retail shoe store. Okay. When I worked at the computer lab, my job was to assist people with the computers, literally just technical assistance. But when I realized that and it was just for extra money. But when I realized that I wanted to go into HR, you know what I did? I went to my supervisor and I said, hey, is there any way that I can assist you in when you're interviewing your next group of candidates, your next group of lab assistants? Is there any way that I can assist you with training? I started volunteering for additional tasks. And what do I mean by that? That means I was creating my own experience. Yeah, I knew that I didn't have any HR experience, but I was going to look at the HR. So what I started doing was I started looking at the job announcements, the job vacancy announcements online. And I started looking at what these entry-level positions were looking for. A lot of them were looking for resume reviewing experience, recruiting experience, interviewing experience, policy development experience. So I knew that. So I even started asking the lab manager, I started asking her and saying, you know what, is there a way that I can help you build your next policy, or can I review it? Can I give you some suggestions? Because what that ended up doing, I now can put that on my resume that, yeah, my title was lab assistant, but now I have some additional skills that can be highlighted up front. My second tip for you, and again, I'm kind of touching on some of this and creating your own experience, is going to deal with your resume. And we'll get to that in the next slide. But it's really important that if you are new to HR or transitioning into HR, your resume needs to be in a functional format. No excuses, just period. Okay, I'm putting the full stop there. It has to be functional. You have to have keywords highlighted up top, because if you have 8 years of experience, 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience in another industry, and you are not highlighting any HR keywords up front, you're not going to look like you're qualified despite you having a degree. I hope that makes sense. And as I go into some of these other ways of how you get your foot in the door, I'm hoping I might be able to answer your question. It looks like I have another question or comment. Yeah, so I don't see, okay. So hopefully, so again, going back to make sure I answer that question, I wouldn't necessarily, oh, okay, you put a response. It has worked at a bank branch, got it, bank branch manager, now work as an insurance underwriter. I've asked my current company to work in HR projects and initiatives, but unfortunately that is not a possibility at this time. Yeah, I totally get that too. So what you might have to do is what I'm going to talk about next, is volunteering or interning. And people might say, I don't have time to volunteer. I have a family to feed. I have a mortgage to pay. I have rent to pay, especially if you're transitioning into HR. You don't have that luxury. But let me tell you, let me give you some out of the box ways that you can volunteer. And a lot of people make this mistake. And again, our company, we position people in a way to make sure that they are attractive for the careers that they want. And one of the things that we do, we advise people to volunteer. So think about this. I want you to write down every business owner that you know personally, or that your spouse knows personally, that your mom knows personally, that your dad, I don't care who it is. Even if you have to put a Facebook post up and say, hey, who of my friends are business owners? Okay? Once you get that list, I want you to look at if any of those businesses have employees. Whoever has an employee or looking to have an employee, I want you to say, hey, listen, I'm looking to go into HR and I want to volunteer my time. I want to volunteer 5 hours of my time a month for the next 6 months to your company. What does that do? That now gives you experience that you can now put on your resume as current and active experience. And you do not have to put that it's a volunteer position. And one of the things that I love about volunteer experience is that not only do you not have to put that as a volunteer position. Now, sometimes when applications are getting really in depth where you have to put, they might ask you, did you get paid and how much you were paid, blah, 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 blah. Where in a great way for you to answer that is to say that you were doing pro bono consulting. That's I'm telling you, I'm giving you guys all the juice today. But when you're volunteering, right? Let's say you're just volunteering, again, 5 hours a week, 5 hours a month, whatever it might be, on a Saturday, on a Sunday, or in the evening. Again, when you're volunteering for a small business owner, you don't necessarily have to be in their office. So you just have to get creative. Think of things that you could do outside of the box. But I think one of the greatest ways that you can start to volunteer and get other experience, especially if you can't create your own experiences of where you work, is that you must find the small businesses that you can volunteer with. Because some of the larger corporations, you're probably going to have to go to their work site. And if you're already working, that's just not feasible. So again, write down a list of everybody that you know that's a business owner that you can go and volunteer your time, and try to do that even for the next 3 months, 6 months, and see what a difference that might make. Start positioning yourself as a consultant. If you feel like you're not qualified to do that, partner with other HR professionals that can give you some of the inside scoop that you're going to end up needing. So if you run into an issue, it's like, oh man, I really don't know how to handle it. Stop thinking that you have to know it all. Let me tell you, people with certifications and degrees, they don't know everything. If you find me an HR professional that says, oh, I know everything about HR, they're lying. You know why? The laws are changing literally every month. Every state, there's a different law. And in fact, there are laws that are different in sometimes in some cities and some counties. So don't feel like you have to know it all. Don't feel like you are underqualified. If you have a true desire and you know you are being called to this profession, then I just challenge you to think outside the box and start creating some experiences either where you are or with someone else. Again, by volunteering. Again, interning is another great way. If you are watching this and you're currently in school, I am praying that you are not waiting until May, until your last semester to figure out that you need to get an internship. I'm not saying that's the horrible time period to do it, but you are behind the curve if you're waiting until graduation to get an internship. As soon as you know, and this is a tip for especially if you all are parents watching this, please encourage your children, encourage college students to begin looking for internships even as a sophomore, and let their internships relate to what it is that they want to do. And if it doesn't, let's say you have to do something for money reasons, to make sure they start tailoring their current experiences to what they want to do. Again, I could talk about this slide alone probably for an hour, but I want to keep going. Also, another way that you get your foot in your door, again, is your HR network. I cannot stress this enough. You cannot say that you are desiring to be an HR professional. This is where Mama Bear is coming out. Can you tell the difference in my tone? You can't tell me that you want to be in HR and you have no friends that are in HR. That just doesn't make any sense. You have to have friends in HR. Now, I'm not saying they have to come over to your house. No, but let me tell you, it would help if they invite you over to your house, or if you're joining some type of professional association like NAAA HR, or like any of the other human resources professional associations, or joining some HR meetup groups. I know that sometimes my husband and I will gather HR professionals and just business professionals together. You want to go and build your network. I know you've heard is not what you know, who you know. I say it's both. I think it's because you can know someone, and if you go in the door and you don't know anything, you're going to be like a total lame. And yeah, we don't want that. So I feel like it's not just what you know, it's what you know and who you know, right? So you want to build your HR network. How do you do that? You build that through LinkedIn. And literally people are like, it's so interesting. You don't build your network by just requesting people in HR and not starting conversations. You want to start meaningful conversations. Hey, I have a document even of some really powerful questions that you can ask someone that is in an industry that you desire to be in. You can ask, hey, how did you, why are you in HR? How did you launch into HR? What tips can you provide me? And that's how you start to build your network. And I'm telling you, it's powerful. I mean, and it's, just think about it. If you have HR friends, more than likely, some of those friends are going to be hiring one day soon. What a great position to be in, right? Okay. Self-study university. This is one of the things I love to talk about. People might say, oh, I don't have any experience. No one will hire me because I don't have any experience. So again, we talked about volunteering, we talked about interning, we talked about creating your own experience, we talked about your HR network. But how about your self-study? How about if you have your master's and you never went to school for HR, how about you study it on your own? Can I just be honest? So we are paying thousands of dollars to institutions for them to force us to study on our own. Think about that for a moment. We're buying textbooks and we're studying. We could do that on our own. So again, by all means, I'm not discrediting a degree. I know that can definitely be an entry point. I have my master's in HR, so I'm not discrediting a degree at all. But just know that you don't have to wait to go to school to learn about HR. You can learn about FLSA today. You can learn about FMLA today. Go online, do some self-studying. There are lots of different free, one of the universities that I love is YouTube University, right? YouTube University is phenomenal. There are professors that you're paying to learn and sit in their lecture that have a whole copy of their lecture and their series of their courses on YouTube. Go listen in. Do some self-study, attend self-study university. And again, lastly, you want to look into your career brand. I'm looking at the time. And by all means, if you have any questions, feel free to keep them coming in. Your career brand. If you are launching your HR career or transitioning into HR, you want to make sure that your brand says HR, okay? You want to, here's some just quick things you could do to brand yourself. Change your email address to, I'm going to use my husband's name. No, I won't use his name. I don't know if he wants to be disclosed. Let's just say my name is Grace Wall. I'm looking at the wall. Grace Wall. So change your email address to gracewallhr@gmail.com. Those simple ways. When you are submitting your resume, put HR professional. Your LinkedIn profile, put HR or whatever specific industry you want to be in. Put that on in your profile for LinkedIn. Start changing your name on Facebook. Rebrand yourself. Start contributing to articles and blogs from a career perspective. You might say, well, I'm not an expert in HR. You can contribute to the world of HR even as a career seeker and start writing blogs about your experience applying for HR jobs. Or maybe when you do some self-study, you can become an expert in FMLA because of all of the things that you've read. Again, you can have an HR professional that's the director of HR in all types of certifications, and it does not mean that they know FMLA. It does not mean that they know FLSA. And if you don't know any of the acronyms that I'm sharing with you and you want to be in HR, I strongly suggest that you research that, okay? So again, you want to make sure your brand says that, hey, I am in HR, especially those of you that are coming out of, I know that the example you gave was out of the banking industry. And I'll tell you this, we work with a lot of people in the banking industry. It is really hard to look at someone in banking and to think that they want to do something outside of banking. The only way that you are going to be really successful at doing that is that you have to do some of the things that I mentioned here. But in addition to that, the branding is going to be the most crucial thing. So when it comes to your resume, your LinkedIn, and your brand, it's not about what you've done all the time, but it's about where you want to go. What you've done is obsolete now. Where do you want to go? Your brand should also always speak to where you want to go. Hopefully I'm making sense. All right, we're wrapping up a little bit. It's 1:46. So here are the next steps. Do I have any other questions regarding that? And hopefully if I didn't answer, if you still have questions, or those that ask questions, feel free to still ask those questions. So the next steps, you want to know your why. Here's what I mean. Why do you want to go into HR? Is HR really for you? Can you keep a secret? And I don't mean to be funny when I say that, but I mean, really, can someone give you prized possession? Information rather about an employee, and can you keep it to yourself? Or about the company? You know that the company is about to go under some layoffs. Can you keep a secret? Are you in the position where, because especially as you might say, oh, I want to be a manager in HR, director in HR. Are you ready to bring work home with you? And those of you know it. Now, of course, you can set boundaries. Of course, you can set boundaries in the workplace. But there are more chances than none that when you have the higher level positions in HR, your work doesn't just stay at work, right? When you are a HR rep for a company and people see you outside of the company, they see you as HR, okay? So are you really ready for that? Do you like learning, right? If you don't really like learning, HR really isn't for you, because you'll be stale, old, and stagnant in a year or 2 years max if you're not always keeping up with what's happening in HR. And I'm not just talking about HR law, but just best practices. If your network isn't growing in HR, what are you doing, right? So think about those things. Getting in HR doesn't just mean, oh, I'm good, I can coast, right? HR means that you are progressing, that you are a strategic partner, not just for the business, even though that's your primary role, but also as an employee advocate. What is your why, right? And you also want to think about your niche. Some people, I know the proper way to say it is niche. But you want to think about not just HR. Oh, I want to get into HR. Well, what type of HR? What do you want to do in HR? Do you want to do recruitment? Do you want to do things with policy? Do you want to do training and development? Do you want to work in compensation? Do you want to work in benefits? What is it that you want to work in, right? Start thinking about that. Even if you're not familiar with what you want to do just yet, start researching. So when people ask you, you can at least start to have meaningful conversations behind that. Okay, if that makes any sense. And again, brand yourself. You want to start branding yourself. You want to go on LinkedIn. You want to make sure that you are branding yourself on LinkedIn, on social media. You want to make sure that on LinkedIn, you are sharing posts that are relevant to the HR industry. You want to make sure that you are not just adding friends that are from your neighborhood. Listen, they can add you on Facebook, not on LinkedIn. Let LinkedIn be used, because let me tell you, over 70% of positions that are on LinkedIn are just on LinkedIn. People are finding positions on LinkedIn because they are on LinkedIn and active on LinkedIn. So that's just a clue. You want to brand yourself on LinkedIn. Brand yourself, when you're speaking with someone, put that in your 30-second speech, elevator speech. If you meet someone, if you're on Facebook, go on Facebook. Hey guys, I'm looking to launch into my HR career. Let me know if you have any contacts. Hey everybody, my name is Steven, and I'm looking to launch into HR. I'm your next HR, for your brand yourself. Okay. Self-study experience. Again, we talked about self-study university, but you want to make sure that you are reading some type of article, that you are attending some type of HR event, at least at a very minimum on a quarterly basis. But I would say if you were looking for an HR career in the next 6 months or less, I'm going to encourage you to attend something. You need to be engaging with a new HR professional at least on a weekly basis, and you need to be attending some type of HR event at least on a monthly basis. Again, those are just my thoughts. Those are things that will set you apart. Do you have to do it? No. Can you still get a job if you don't do it? Of course you can. Again, what did I say before? What is for you is for you. But again, these are just some ways that you can be set apart. And again, you want to have an HR professional resume. Your resume should not just be a chronological resume if this is your first time entering the world of HR. It needs to be functional in nature, where you are highlighting HR keywords at the top of your resume. Again, this is another subject that I can talk on literally for 3 hours on just your resume. But one of the things you want to make sure is that whatever the job description says, whatever the vacancy announcement says, that job posting says in their qualifications and their requirements, you want to make sure that those keywords that are listed there are in your resume. Please don't make recruiters guess if you are qualified for the job. You would have to make sure that your resume speaks to HR and not just what you did. Again, remember, your resume is part of your brand as well. Your resume should not just be about what you did, but focus on where you're going. I'm hoping that makes sense to you. And then also your cover letter. If you're transitioning into a field, you want to do a cover letter. I don't care if the job is asking you for a cover letter or not. The cover letter is very, very important because you can explain, hey, I've been in banking for the last 10 years, and some of my management experience and me dealing with policies and working with individuals really made me realize I wanted to do a switch of industries and career paths, and led me to start researching more about human resources. For that reason, I decided to go back to school, and now I've been learning about, and you can use the keywords in the job description, I've been learning about FMLA, blah, 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 blah. In addition to that, I recently graduated, from Towson University. As you can tell, I'm just kind of spitting this off in my head, but you want to explain that in your cover letter, especially if you're transitioning into a new career or you're launching, especially for those of you that might not have a degree in HR, right? Because if you don't have a degree in HR or you're working towards it, don't have any experience in it, they might be, you probably won't be the first person that they're looking at, especially if the person next to you has experience in HR. Hopefully that makes sense. And then tell your world, again, tell your friends, tell your neighbors that you're looking for a career in HR. People are so shy nowadays. It's just so amazing. Now, if you come from the school where it's like, oh, I don't want people knowing my business, just depends on how bad you really want it, right? Again, people need to know what it is that you desire, because you don't know, you might be one person away from your dream career in HR. Any questions? We are making great time. Let me go back and look to see. I hope this was helpful. If this was helpful to you, can you just type in HR rocks? HR rocks. Just type in HR rocks. HR rocks. And if you have any other questions with our last few minutes, I definitely want to make sure that we answer any of those questions. Okay? HR, yay! HR, good, good, good. So listen, any other questions? So this is a little bit about Career Image Solutions, the company that I work for. I am the founder, Chief Human Resources Officer at Career Image Solutions. And these are some of the services that we offer career professionals, but we also offer an array of services to businesses as well, whether it's recruitment, whether it's policy development, and one of the things that we love the most, which is training the trainer. So we'll go in and we'll train your HR professionals on a number of things on how to get their HR office in order. Okay, so definitely if you have any other questions regarding that, here's some of our information right there below. And if you are looking to launch your HR career and you need additional assistance, you know, what you've been doing so far is good, but you know that you need an extra push, you want to definitely write down this link, bit.ly/HR moves, okay? And we can definitely schedule a time for us to chat. Trying to stop this recording.